Hey everybody, and welcome to the Cow Emporium, our Alberta farm. Today in this video, we are going to be talking about the problems with long-term pasture, soil compaction, wind, and water erosion, and what it looks like on our property here. You might not consider this, but from the very first time that the land was walked on, compaction started to happen. These pastures that you've probably seen before are our calving pastures, and we call them our sacrifice pastures because we need pasture land that is well established to calve our cows out on. Because if the season of rain comes, so does the mud season. And if the pasture doesn't have a proper root system, then it is just a giant mud bog out where the cows are. While we usually think of compaction as a bad thing, in this instance, and another that I'm going to show you, compaction is actually on our side and very useful. This spring, I was privileged to speak with 2 grade 7 classes at the school where I work about these very topics, and I thought you may all be interested as well. Now in this shot is examples of compaction. When soil is compacted, it ends up forming in layers, just like this. Now in this sample, you can also see that the roots are traveling down through there, and Glenn is using his knife to show you better how the layers form under compacted soil. It almost looks like a soil sandwich. Now this is another example of pasture that we have not broke up for the 30 years that I have been here. Again, it is something that we use to just keep our cows on until they head to the summer pasture where hopefully they will find some greener grass. Now, compaction looks like roads through fields such as this. Without this road heading down to the well where we get water to water our animals, we would have a difficult time driving. Also, we have a bale stack down this road, and so the road compaction works to keep the vehicles from falling in the mud. However, you'll see as it gets wet, the road starts to widen. Wind erosion. Farmers who have fields that they work in the fall can have fields that sometimes blow. Unfortunately, this is an example of a field's topsoil blowing to another province, and it is not ours. I'll just tell you that. This is not something that you want to see. Ideally, that farmer would leave stubble to catch the snow on his field over the winter instead of having all his soil blow away. This is another example of wind erosion. This is a fence line that has been there for a long time, and the dirt has built up in this fence line because the grass grows there, because it's not worked, and the grass catches the dirt that blows, and therefore there's this mound of dirt laying beneath that fence line, and it appears that it's also a hotel for gophers. This is an example of another fence line. This fence line is not nearly as old, and you can see that the dirt isn't built up, but the grass is starting to grow along the fence line, and so that process will begin. Water erosion. This is a piece of native grass that we do not break up because in the wet years, this is full of water that is rushing through our property. If this piece was broken up and cultivated, the dirt would also go with it, and we would have no dirt left here. So we have decided a long time ago that we are going to just leave this grass. Down in the bottom of this, there is a spring that sometimes runs out of the side of this little hill. And Glenn's grandpa would tell the story that steam tractors, pardon me, would come around from nearby in the country to fill up their water tanks from the spring because it was the nearest water for quite a ways. Imagine that sight. There I am, back at the summer pasture. Now, summer pasture has some great examples of water erosion. On part of the property back there, there is a pond that is dammed up by the road. The geese were not very happy that it was coming into their space bubble. So where those rocks are is a big culvert that takes the overflow water from the pond across the highway. You can see it better in this summer picture here, where the water is actually flowing there into the culvert. It's quite beautiful back there in the summer. I can't wait. So when the water is gushing out of that culvert in the springtime, it comes under the road and across here, and this little ravine has been dug out by the water, and we prevent erosion by adding some giant pieces of riprap, which is huge stones or pieces of concrete down there, for the water to fall on and bounce off so it doesn't rip apart the sides. Now, this is the ditch. This is a ditch culvert, and you see how deep the cut is just from that water in the ditch. Now, that is everything that I have for you today. Little examples of soil compaction, wind and water erosion examples on the farm, and I hope that you found that to be some useful information. Take care, everybody. Bye for now. See you in the next one.